comedians I know. He's one of the best writers I know. He is seriously funny. He has also got some shows in Darwin Fringe Festival. Please look them up. Please welcome to the stage your headliner for tonight. Make some noise for Gary O'Sullivan!
Shalom, everyone. You're just going to come back, you're going to sing again for us? Beautiful. The MC with the most. Hello, everyone. How you going? Thanks for coming out. My name's Gary O'Sullivan. And look, I turned 50 early this year. And look, the only thing I can say for sure is that I'm really fucking sick of sandwiches for lunch. Like, I'm old but not wise, you know. Like, I can't tell you why they still put stickers on fruit, you know. And as I inadvertently chew down on yet another piece of plastic, you know, I just tell myself that it's okay, it's just indigestible fibre. But so is the fruit it was stuck on, so that's not much help, is it? Yeah. Like, I also really know, like, that Channel 7 really wants the farmer to have a wife. But does he really need one? Because I actually had one and they're a lot of work. Especially after a gut full of white wine. I think I'm going to call her right now, just to find out. Yeah, that's a great idea. 11:30 p.m, call a woman you barely know to talk about a conversation you had 5 years ago. Fuck, that's got success written all over it. I'm also too old for inspirational quotes. Like, whenever I see inspirational quotes, instead of feeling motivated or inspired to do better, what I do straight away is just say, don't fucking tell me what to do. And I often say it out loud, you know. Like a good example, I was following a car the other day. It had 2 bumper stickers and each one had an inspirational quote. And the first one said, "Life's all about the journey, not the destination." And I audibly groaned. But like, that's fine if you have access to adequate transport. But if you, like me, owned an old, poorly maintained 15 car, then life was just a series of incomplete journeys. I never made a destination. Ironically, my most common journey was to an auto parts franchise to buy parts for my car, and I was served by a boy with who was like post-pubescent, but he had a pre-pubescent mustache, you know, the sort of thing he was very proud of, but the sort of thing I thought should have got him on a register, maybe 2. He was about to do something fucked. And he seemed about as interested in helping me out as he would have been if I'd asked him to scrape dog shit off one of my shoes, you know. Because that's where customer service is apparently these days too, you know. And the very next bumper sticker on the car said, "Collect moments, not things." When you have a fuck car, you collect a lot of moments. None of them are good. None of them are good. So car's broken down, I use public transport a lot, and there's a beautiful moment when you arrive at the train station to find out your express train is now a bus replacement service, turning your 45-minute door-to-door into a 4.5 fucking hour odyssey. That's a beautiful moment. And then as you fill this bus with people who just don't want to be there, you know, I clock eyes with a overweight, overly hairy man carrying a very large bag of one of the finest purveyors of fast foods, you know. And he flops into the seat beside me, squashing me up against the window. But the quintessential moment is when he simultaneously completes his 3rd Big Mac and his 4th McFlurry, and then audibly and calmly farts. A stench that invades my nasal passages, ironically like a freight train, express train, in fact. A stench that could only be described as a desperate cry for help from his tortured intestines. You know? And if any of you are relating to this, or you think that some of this might be something you've been through before, don't worry. All the important stuff in life is moments and journeys. It's fine. So I was telling a friend about this terrible sort of story, and he just went, "Oh, fuck, Gary, can't you just try and be happy and not be such a sad cunt?" And I went out, I thanked him, I bought him a gift. Yeah, I bought him a thesaurus. Because there's about 50 fucking ways he could have said that without being a But I took his advice, you know. I thought a lot about how I fit into the bigger picture, into the universe. And I discovered that we're all made of cosmic dust. Did you know that? Cosmic dust that was born 13.8 billion years ago in the Big Bang. And this cosmic dust was fused under immense heat and pressure in some of the very earliest stars to create the first elements on the periodic table. And those elements combined to create the first single-celled organisms. And those organisms evolved to create multi-celled organisms. And they kept evolving to create, finally, what we have here tonight, us, human beings. Multi-celled organisms with a consciousness, the ability to think, and to reason and to question things. And that's why we're investigating the cosmic dust that we were made from. It's fascinating, isn't it? Another way of putting it is I'm cosmic dust, standing up here on stage with a microphone and having an existential crisis about being made of cosmic dust. I tell everyone I know that. Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? Yeah. So I've been single for quite a while now. Why? I try very hard not to be single. I try to be funny and articulate. I try to dress well, but nothing. But every time I go to Mindle Markets, without fail, I always see a soap-avoiding, underachieving dreadlock dude playing ditch. And right beside him is his yoga pant-wearing, monosyllabic brekkie cone mate, on bongos. And together they're banging out some shit that they've just made up. And their crowd is women, 6 deep, loving it, loving every moment of it, fantastic. These women would obviously want to spend way more time with two privately school-educated parental disappointments, masquerading as musicians, than they would with anyone else. Like, they would really want to get to know two blokes who manifest every tank of fuel for their fucked up combis. And attempt to pay for things, not with money, but with good vibrations from my sunlight chakra. But it's okay, I listen when the universe is screaming in my face. I've made a few changes. Yeah, I've bought myself some yoga pants. I'm learning to play the ditch. And every brekkie is cones. So, I hope to be monosyllabic by mid-next year. When I first became single, my friends were very supportive. They said, "Oh, you'll be right. You'll be fine." I had some other very, very supportive friends who said things like, "You're gonna fucking clean up, mate. Clean up. Fucking clean up." Really? Fuck. Thanks. That's great. And I can confirm, after a number of years of being single, I have not cleaned up at all. I have cleaned up so little I can describe being single with 5 nouns and 1 analogy. And the first one is preparation. That's where you specifically go out to buy a packet of condoms because you want to be prepared to clean up, I suppose. Next one's indecision. That's where you're standing in the store saying, "Do I buy the pack of 10 or the pack of 20? Optimism sees you arrive home with a packet of 20 condoms. A little while later, skepticism kicks in and you wonder when you get to use just one. Until pessimism takes you back to the store where you bought them, saying very loudly, "I disagree. An unopened packet deserves a full refund." It's okay, it's alright, yeah. I think I'm single because, look, I don't know. I was raised a Catholic, maybe that was it, I don't know. Anyway, but I remember from my childhood, and even now, I find it amazing when true believers say God works in mysterious ways. Because it's normally said when something really bad or big's happened to sort of like just brush it away. And I don't think that's right. I think God works in mysterious ways is much more applicable to the simple, common, everyday humorous stuff, that happens around us. Because God, whichever one you believe in, essentially is probably really fucking bored, and essentially just wants to entertain themselves at our expense, Like if you see a toddler completely refuse really good food, but then minutes later get down and eat dog biscuits out of the dog bowl, God works in mysterious ways. If you see a dog completely reject perfectly good food, but then go out and find another animal's shit and eat it, that's another example too. But for me, it's exactly when I've just met someone new, and they've clearly and audibly said their name to me, and 20 seconds later, fucking gone. You can imagine God up there going, "Yep, he said it." Gone. As far as my brain's concerned, this person standing in front of me talking to me, they're called Santa Claus, as far as I can tell. Sure. Yes, and look, I'm also too old for self-serve checkouts. They give me the shits. So I always queue up for a checkout where there's someone on it. And the other day I was behind an old Asian couple at the supermarket, and they were having a conversation with the person behind the checkout who was Asian as well. And look, I guessed it was one of the Chinese languages, because I've seen Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, I know. I've seen it twice. What's going on? And then when I got to the checkout, the old couple was still sorting out their groceries, and I thought I'd be all cool and hip, and I asked the lady behind the checkout, I said, "Were you speaking Mandarin or Cantonese?" And all 3 of them stopped and they said, "No, we were speaking Huna." Right, I didn't know that. Quick Google search tells me that Hunan is a central province in China, lesser known. They speak their own language. About 40 million people speak it, whatever. Fucking, that's not a drama. But the next question really rocked me. The old lady said, do you speak Hunan? And would you like to join us in a conversation? What sort of dream, big, blue sky thinking, Make-A-Wish Foundation shit is that? What is it about this? This freckle-faced, white bread eating, public school educated farm boy with lamb chops and Vegemite in his basket says that I can speak a tonal language. Fuck, I'm lucky to pair jasmine rice with a stir fry. Let alone know a complex language. Sure, I grew up in a house where we spoke a tonal language, monotone. Australians only ever put tones into words they want to emphasise, like swear words. Get fucked! Bullshit! And wanker! That's all we ever do. Yes. Okay, and I grew up in country New South Wales, yeah, and in the 80s, which was pretty interesting, because that was a time when men had just started to experiment with putting earrings in to not only be cool, but also to indicate their sexuality. So left ear for straight, right ear for gay. And look, this was pretty cool, and I was sort of interested in it, but of course I would never do it because country New South Wales had zero fucking appetite for men wearing jewellery at all, especially men who pierce their ears, I was talking to some young guys a little while ago and talking about this time, and they said, oh, it would have been so cool. Would have been so cool to get your ears pierced. It would have been great. You'd have been amazing. I said, no, I probably would have been fucking dead. Because even if I had done all the work, done the research and got the correct ear pierced for my sexuality, no one in the town knew which one it was. They would have just assumed I was gay and treated me accordingly, So it would have been a very dangerous thing to do, for sure. Yes. I was in a cafe the other day, and I was sitting beside a group full of ladies, and that was it's good because I always sort of like to listen in on conversations, find what's going on, and I dig it, in a okay way, not in a bad way. and I heard one of the ladies say that she got a surprise good haircut, and of course that piqued my interest, and I listened a lot more seriously. And then in the next sentence she said, yeah, the cut and colour only cost $400. And at that point I dry reached. Made me realise that the way I treat haircuts is very one-dimensional. I just turn up to anywhere, sit down in the chair and go, look, do your best, no product, thanks. And about $30 later, I've got less hair. It's fantastic. I can't even imagine, $400 is not the limit, is it, ladies? It can be more, can't it? Yeah, is that right? Yes, there's stunned looks. I'll get some, okay, wow, rightio. I can't imagine that, making an appointment, going in, explaining what you want, spending the next 3 to 4 hours wondering how what they're doing is going to result in the haircut you want, and then not knowing how much it's going to cost. Fucking hell, that's crazy, isn't it? If you spent $400 on my haircut, that'd be the equivalent of putting a really flash paint job on a fucked up Commodore. It looked good on the outside, but I'm just really tired and dull and boring and stuff. No. If I was to entertain the concept of $400 on a haircut, I want everything done. I want the whole lot, inside and out. I want the whole lot sorted. Not only a fucking amazing haircut, but my sense of self restored. My harsh self-criticism reduced. Some of my insecurities gone away, and I'd want a fucking rock solid short-term memory. I'd want to walk out there because I got way too many people on my phone who will contact Santa Claus 1, Santa Claus 2, Santa Claus 3. Yes. And look, another reason why I'm single is, I'm going to come clean. I was in Casuarina the other day in a homewares shop. Yeah, that's right, because that's the sort of excitement machine I am. Nothing says sexy like a white middle-aged straight man buying silicone bakeware. It's pretty good. And in the shop there was it was quiet, and all of a sudden it got really mad. This kid was just going crazy, knocking stuff over and yelling and screaming and stuff. But it wasn't angry, it was like a happy thing. This kid was playing really intensely, but making a lot of fucking mess and noise. And they're quite cramped, the shops. And then behind me I heard this woman say, Serenity, darling, I hope you're making good choices. I could tell from the tone that this woman hadn't even looked up from the shit she was wanting to buy, Hey, darling, look inside your heart, because the answer's in there. Choose wisely. And the only thing I can hope for is that this woman would be as injured as the rest of us, because this kid was making a serious mess in this store. Like, there was going to be broken bones. It was going to be like a lot, you know. But the other thing that blew my mind is, like, who names, what sort of optimistic shit is that? You know, like, who names their child after a peaceful sensation? My children are the antithesis of peacefulness. Some of them are devil incarnate, fucking example of serenity. You know? Wouldn't it be much better if we named our kids after much more literal emotions or sensations? Yep, look, this is my eldest. This is exhaustion. He's 11. And you've got chaos, who's 9. Just over here, we've got big mistake, who's 5. And just at my feet here, this is oh fuck, who's 3. Oh, my name? I'm failed vasectomy. Pleased to mention. Yes. Speaking of optimism, public restroom, that's a fucking optimistic term, isn't it? Because restroom's just a fancy name for toilet, and public toilets are some of the most disgusting, stench-filled examples of what human beings can do when left alone in a small space. It's amazing, isn't it? Like, I would go into a public toilet, you know, and it's just that concept of needing to sort of stand on the threshold. Like, I'm not going to go in, you know, until I know that my immune system is robust enough. And that my sense of smell has been damaged enough to even entertain the concept of going inside, let alone to do a shit on the floor. Or smear it on the walls, like that takes way longer than you think, you know. Yes. So a good friend of mine recently, and she was telling me about how she's really struggling to get ahead at work. And she's unable to sort of win those promotions, you know, not able to get a pay rise, even though she's doing exactly the same work as a lot of her male colleagues, you know. And I was like, this is not a new thing, you know, but I really started to think about what I, like a man, might be able to do to help solve the problem, you know. So I thought pretty hard about it, and I thought, what if we went out and found all the women that did stuff for men, like all the shit that men could do for themselves? What if we went out and found those women and told them to just stop? Just fucking stop, right now. Just stop. Surely that's got to make a difference, hasn't it? Surely. Because there's going to be heaps of blokes who would have grown up with their mums doing everything for them. You know, sure, out of a place of love, but way to hold the fucking sisterhood back. For sure, you know. And then these blokes went on to, like, marry or find a girlfriend or a partner, you know, who sort of does the same thing again, you know. What if we, and look, fuck, I don't mean we, I mean other women, my balls aren't that big, right? What if other women went out and found those women and just said, just stop it, right now, just don't do it? Imagine, like, I know 6, maybe 7 blokes, they'd be fucked. Just standing in the wardrobe going, but my shirts are normally here. Like, they just normally sort of hang here. Like in the kitchen, you know, just sort of going from the fridge to the freezer to the cupboard, back again. It's like, there's nothing to eat, there's no food, you know. Just sort of like calling their wife or girlfriend going, yeah, look, where's the switch for the, how do you turn the laundry on? How do you do that? What's going on here? You know, like, surely that's got to make a difference, hasn't it? Like, if everyone did it, there'd be tens of thousands of blokes just trapped in their house, you know, wearing dirty clothes, hungry, just like standing in front of a front-loading washing machine, trying to open the door. You know. That's bound to open up plenty of positions in businesses and places around that women who are already at work can take, you know? Just an idea, just a thought. And yeah, like I'll probably get a little bit deep here for you, so we'll see how we go. But I've been dating for a little while, and dating at my age is a little bit harder because it teaches you about vulnerability. So when I was young, vulnerability was pretty hard, you know, but I coped with it because I was naive, you know, I had shitloads of free time and I hadn't been scarred by previous relationships, you know, so it's okay. But now that I'm older, like, I'm okay being vulnerable, but it's just really tiring. It's really hard, you know, because essentially you're sort of like, you're going to go on a date with someone, but they want to know all about you, so you've got to get all your vulnerabilities out, you know what they are, but then they're just going to have a really good look at them, you know, much like someone at a lawn sale would, like a hardened haggler at a lawn sale. You're going to go and have a good look around and see if they really want this item. It could be something like, oh, so what's this here in front of you? Oh, this weird thing, this is my sense of self. Yeah, you'll see, here's my fear of failure on top, and that's attached to my perfectionism, and just below it is my harsh Self-criticism. Oh, interesting. Okay. So, how long have you had this for? Oh, I've been working on this since my early teens. Yeah. Pretty much as soon as I could start comparing myself to others. Yeah. You know. It's very big. Have you thought about trying to reduce it? Oh, shit, yeah. Yeah, I've had a crack at that. If you look over here, you'll see a table full of self-help books. If you look behind that, you'll see the 8 separate pieces of home gym equipment. And just over here is a pile of inspirational quotes I've just taken down off the wall. Oh, interesting. Well done. So you're selling all this stuff because you're better now? Fuck no, I've just caved in. I realised I'm going to be like this. I'm just sick of being reminded, you know, of all those things around that I tried to fix myself with other people's opinions, you know. So today, it's all got to go. It's all got to go. Yes, that's right. Yes. Just going to move now, slightly change gear, yeah, because it's probably going to be heavier. We'll tell a few wank jokes. Is everyone all right with that? I got called a wanker by a motorist the other day, purely for riding my bike in a bus lane. You know, in a bike lane on a road, you know. Yeah, it was confronting, you know. I know the motorist wanted to hurt me, you know. They wanted to ostracise me. But I didn't feel that at all. In fact, I felt quite the opposite. Because when you think about it, we all wank. When we started when we were teenagers, and we've been practising ever since. Some of us practising furiously. So in this racially divided, religiously complicated, gender fluid world we live in, calling someone a wanker is quite simply the most inclusive term you can use. So from me up on stage, TV audience, thanks for coming out tonight, you pack of wankers. When I say motorist, I mean bus driver. There was a bus driver that called me a wanker. And he fucking meant it too, idiot. Pulled up beside me, matched my speed, opened the door, yelled out, "Wanker!" in front of all the school kids. Yeah. And it wasn't the fact that he called me a wanker as a problem, it's the fact that it was a bus driver. I'm like, what's happened to them? I got to thought this predictable combination of regret, frustration, and all over physical pain, all wrapped up in a recently retired man who's had to return to the workforce because his wife's yet to retire and he's not allowed to mope around the house all day. Could be so angry. A man who in his short time driving a bus has seen more traffic infringements than I've had hot dinners. And as a result, there's only one minor traffic misdemeanor from letting his bus full of school kids do all the talking at the next intersection. You know? And who would have thought taking this man, whose tolerance and patience has been pushed to the limit by an overly virtuous and woke society, you know, and then exposing him twice daily to a parade of some of the most narcissistic, self-absorbed leaders of tomorrow in their school uniforms would result in anything but a positive, upbeat, can-do attitude, you know. What this tells me is that bus drivers are on the edge and it's up to us to look after them. So next time you see a bus driver, call him a wanker. He just wants to feel included. You know. Just going to ask a quick question here. Has anyone else ever found themselves with some free time at work and decided to use that time to have a wank? No, me neither. No, that's right. You weren't supposed to put your hand up, mate. It was a trick question, yeah. Thank you for your honesty. That's a new vulnerability. Great. Nice one. I haven't either. I've never had a job that exciting. But I did read about a young bloke who decided to, he lost his job because he decided to have a wank at work. Yeah. And it's not because one of his colleagues walked in on him. No, he filmed himself having a wank and decided to post it on the internet. Fuck yeah, how good's that? The stupid will kill us all. I just need you all to know that. The stupid are definitely going to kill us all. That's right, yes. And when you hear a story like this, it's never a woman, is it? It's never a woman, it's always a bloke. Always a bloke. Just confirming that the male processing of ideas is just ideas, action. They just completely skip the thinking part in the middle. And I hope that you are as fascinated by this story as I am, otherwise the next couple of minutes might be a bit dull for you. Still trying to get a background, you know, unless you work in the sex industry, there's no part of your job description that says masturbate, or wank, or self-love, or anything else. And there's a very good reason why 99.9% of us masturbate at home, private, all by ourselves. Because whilst it feels good, there's nothing to see. It's really nothing to see, and nothing that a HD camera is going to make look any fucking better. Let's just go through a couple of steps that our incredible pillar of the community, let's just call him Nathan for the purposes of this joke, went through to not only find himself unemployed, but unemployable. So So Nathan finds himself at work one day and he has some free time. So instead of going for the traditional sort of something to eat or something to drink, he thinks, hang on, how about I have a wank? Now I know we all have crazy thoughts, don't we? But it's our job to keep the crazy thoughts locked up inside the fucked up part of our brain with all the other crazy thoughts. Thoughts such as, of course you should punch that baby. Or yes, I will eat this empty wine glass. I've just got a bite now. Crazy thoughts. Have a wank at work, lives up here with the crazy thoughts, you know. The next thing, though, is that Nathan, sorry, I should pronounce it properly, pre-wank has thought, hang on a second, can't let this moment go by without capturing it. Better set up a camera to film it, hadn't I? Give a tip from the top. If you're setting up a camera to film yourself and you're naked, or like all of your genitalia is showing, review that decision. And then review it again and continue to review that decision until you come up with the appropriate answer, which is not to film. Because that's the only answer. You know. And then finally, post-wank, you know, when all the blood's returned to the places it's supposed to be and the decision-making's a little bit less inhibited, Nathan says, you know what, I'm not going to keep this to myself, better post this to the fucking world. What a moment, what a beautiful moment, Nathan. You know, so that's how you find yourself not only unemployed but unemployable. And as a parent, I'm so worried for Nathan. You know, I just want to pull him aside and just say, Nathan, there are much easier ways to quit your job, mate. You know. So I'm a parent as well, and look, I didn't realise how relentless kids would humbug you. It's fucking unbelievable. They just do not stop. Like, it's just insane, and they will quite often humbug you about stupid shit. Absolutely stupid shit. Like my two, for 2-3 years, were desperate to have ice cream for breakfast, you know. And I had to fight that fucking battle, you know. The only time that's a good idea is if you want daily dialysis at age 13. Apart from that, bad fucking idea. And the only way you can fight that is to have firm, consistent boundaries. The only way to hold those boundaries is to stay calm. And look, I need to come clean, I was fucking not calm. So I did something a bit different. I took up axe throwing to try and sort of calm myself down. You know, sort of 5 small axes, you know, throw them at a target, quick succession. And I was sceptical, but fuck me, I'm calm, so calm. Excellent, so good. Like, even when they're humbugging me, I'm calm, you know. And I noticed that I'm actually the calmest when just after I've thrown an axe and I watch it just miss their head. That's when I'm the calmest. And it's fantastic, you know, because double bonus, like I'm calm, and every time I throw an axe, the humbug really fucking drops. It's so good. It's excellent. Yes. Being a parent makes you think about family too as well. Like, just discovered in our family, a couple of members of my extended family have autism, which is great. Like, it's good to know. I just, for my whole life, thought they were really fucked at conversations, but it turns out it's autism, so it's good to know. And the type of autism they have is they can't read social cues, so they get really nervous when there's a conversation going on, and then they just sort of panic and they blurt something out. Like, often factually correct, but just blurt it out. So, like, I was at a family gathering the other day, and my cousin says that. In Australia, 1/3 of all marriages will end in divorce in the first 7 years. Like, I'm not saying yours will, but I just want anyone who's going into the terrible state of holy matrimony, the difficult trouble and ultimately doomed state of holy matrimony, is aware of this fact and changes their expectations accordingly. Like, factually correct, but odds on not the best thing to say during a bride's speech at a wedding. Especially when the bride's your sister. So, it was a pretty fucking awkward wedding after that, actually. And I was glad to get out of there, and I was flying home. I was coming through Sydney Airport, and came across this amazing sign. I don't know whether you guys have seen this either or not, but just double check that everyone can sort of see this up here. It's for I'm going to turn it for you, mate. It's for an animal assistance facility. So, assistance animals, I thought guide dogs, you know, so a toilet for guide dogs, but no. Apparently, there's a lot more assistance animals as well. So, according to Sydney Airport, if you're a man, your most likely assistance animal is a koala. If you're a woman, it's a Scotch Terrier. But if you're transitioning, it's most likely a kangaroo that's as tall as you are. Haven't they had enough of a time? You know, like, imagine being the man. Like, how much assistance do you get from an animal that's drunk on eucalyptus and sleeps for 23 hours a day? Like, surely the man's assisting the koala, surely. And then it dawned on me, you know, 95% of people who go to an airport are getting on a plane. Like, imagine sitting beside an assistant's koala on a 4.5 hour flight. That'd be like sitting beside your pissed uncle at Christmas. He's snoring and asleep, and the next thing sort of wake up, "Rah, fucking boy, you can't prove it, didn't get me a drink, motherfucker." But that's not the best bit. My new goal in life, my ultimate goal in life, which I could die happy after, is if I watch 2, 3, 4, I don't know how many flight attendants it's going to take to put a seatbelt around a 6-foot kangaroo. And get it to keep the armrest down and the tray table up. I think that's going to be the key thing. Yes. The, I'm just going to double check where we're going. Yeah, okay. Yeah. A bit more about me. It's the right thing to do, yeah. Okay. I talked about getting viral before. I've got some moments I'm not proud of. You know, I pushed pretty hard on a door that said pull. Multiple times, you know, in front of people. That's pretty fucking embarrassing, you know, because we're all going into the same building, you know. And a little while later, it got much worse as I was sitting across the table from them in that meeting. Yeah, worst job interview ever. And made me think a lot about how we deal with embarrassment as we age. You know, because when we're young, we're really embarrassed about the things we have done. But when we get older, we're embarrassed about the things we haven't done. Like the whole medical profession is really worried about the youth because they're not getting sexual health checks. And they say that the one thing that's stopping them do it is it's too embarrassing to speak to your GP about your sexual activity. Which I get, you know, like that is a bit embarrassing, but nowhere near as embarrassing as later on in life. When you're in your appointment with your GP and you can fundamentally assure them there's no need for a sexual health check. There's been no fucking action for quite a while. Yes. It's interesting too, you think a lot about that sort of stuff, but Facebook embarrasses me. I'm on Facebook, that's pretty embarrassing, you know. It's a wonderful source of considered opinions on contemporary topics, isn't it, Facebook? It's great, yeah. A lot of stupid people on Facebook too. How do I know? Facebook wants me to be friends with all of them. Yeah. Be friends with Wayne, he's cool, he's got a Maloo ute, he does donuts. Be friends with Wayne, he's cool. Be friends with Nathan. He's between jobs at the moment, but be friends with Nathan, you know. Be friends with Mick. Like that friend suggestion algorithm on Facebook is basically like someone at work who's incredibly optimistic, but a really poor judge of character, you know. No. And look, Facebook does want me to be friends with a bloke called Mick, and I'm just going to describe his profile photo, and I'll let you judge about this. So, Mick's a middle-aged man, he's got a bit of a beer gut, he's wearing a "See You in the NT" singlet, and his photo is of him lighting his own fart. And in the background is a bloke in full high vis giving the double thumbs up. Now, I might be a bit judgy, but I don't think Mick's going to be full of sort of philosophical conversation starters. You know? I don't think he's part of the research team to cure cancer. You know? And what Facebook doesn't know is I've actually met Mick. That's the way Darwin works. You know? Friend of a friend at a pub. And anyway, Mick was there, and he's wearing his "See You in the NT" singlet. Like, I think he's got a couple anyway. And Mick's quite loud, so you can't miss him. His laugh is pretty much like a machine gun. And really bad for us, Mick finds a lot of things funny, so that's not good. Yeah. And Mick drinks bourbon. Yeah, drinks bourbon.
Get us a Jimmy can, would ya? Get us a fucking murder of bourbon. Fuck, I could murder. Oh, bourbon's so good. Fuck, I could murder a bourbon.
I can understand if you hear this, and this person, like, bourbon's not the only thing they've seriously considered murdering. And a cruel twist of fate, the only thing they haven't considered, which they've been murdering their entire speaking lives, is the English language. Bourbon's simply just a confirmation that Mick and his bourbon-swilling brethren will use their few remaining brain cells on a series of appalling decisions. Your average fuckwits choose your own adventure, if you will, which will no doubt be told in excruciating detail at your local magistrate's court about a month later. And as Mick and his other brethren turn up to court in their thin black leather tie in front of their borrowed white button-up shirt, you know, their appalling mullets covering the entire collar, you know, and their wraparound sunnies perched up on top of their heads, you know, and delivering what can only be described as a contrived, highly unbelievable and hollow apology, you know, to a courtroom that's just physically tired. And in the centre is a magistrate thinking, is today the day I bring back capital punishment? Thank you, Jim Beam. It's just so good, you know. That's Mick, yes. But look, Mick tells the truth. Like one thing about sort of and one of the things I think is you're probably all wondering, did I accept Mick's friend request? Of course I fucking did. Because Mick's the life of the party and Facebook knows that. I think it'd be much better, like Mick's a bit of a truth teller, you know. I think it'd be great if we all told the truth. It'd be fantastic, you know. If that was the case, I wouldn't be suffering from the apathy of reality. In case you don't know what that is, that's when someone describes something to you as being really amazing, and not long after you find out it's much shitter than the way they've described it. Could be like a television show. Yeah, same. Maths is my favourite too. Yeah, that's right. Could be like a holiday destination. Really, that much fun in Kuta. I literally can't believe it either. Or could it be the evening meal? If you believe any one of the hundreds of cooking shows on any one of the food networks, you'll think, you know, that every evening meal should be spectacular, just spectacular, you know. And probably made up of the loin of some animal that spent its life in a grazing utopia, you know, being massaged twice daily, and it gives up that loin knowingly to a hipster chef with a man bun and overly coiffed moustache, you know. And he combines that loin with heirloom vegetables and hand-stroked herbs that he's collected in his cane basket from the market garden beside his restaurant. And then as he's making the meal, he says something completely wanky like, we should all only ever eat food that we grow ourselves, you know. And then he serves this food, an incredibly small amount of food on an overly large plate, you know, out in front, and then says that the most important thing about this meal is that it was made with love. Like, what a fucking tool. Because it's not reality, is it? It's not reality. Like, we're all busy. We're all busy. Like, we're lucky to have clean dishes in the house, let alone heirloom vegetables in the crisper, you know. Like, for example, at my place, so that I got home and there wasn't a fucking clean dish in the house. Clearly I hadn't thrown enough axes at the kids, but anyway. And as I slowly worked my way from fridge to freezer to cupboard, you know, trying to find something to eat for dinner, lowering my standards as I went, I finally came across the cereal box, you know, and I lifted it up and I thought, there's enough in that. So I put it on the bench and I thought, if I chop most of the top of that box off, what's left will hold cereal and milk. And so I got the spoons out of the drawer, I called the kids in and I said, voila, dinner is served. As far as I'm concerned, that's a meal made with love. Yeah. And look, I talked before, I was raised up in country New South Wales, and also as a Catholic, we went to church every sort of week, you know, and it's pretty crazy. And one of the things that also stuck with me is the saying that true believers say God sees everything. And I would often think that's pretty crazy, you know, because there's 7.8 billion people in this world. That's a lot of unnecessary shit to see, isn't it? For God. There's a lot of inane conversation. There's a lot of people picking their nose. It's a lot of gastro. Like, God doesn't need to see that much. Like, I can't deal with my own diarrhea. Imagine how much diarrhea God's got to deal with, you know. That's crazy, isn't it? And then, like, if this is true, like, I've got a few questions for God. Like, I'd like to ask God if he, like us, tunes out when vegans start speaking. Just how annoying does God find jazz music? And the other one is like, which of the reality TV shows is your favourite, God? Because clearly you've seen them all. And like, imagine that, God. Like, if you believe in God, this is the one entity that created the universe and the earth, everything that lives on it, you know, and all the complex things in life. Like, imagine asking that God which they prefer better, like maths or Farmer Wants a Lot, you know? And like, imagine like a deity, you know, that exists in a knee-high fog of pure bliss, you know, experiencing pleasures that we couldn't even begin to imagine. Probably, I don't know, the equivalent of maybe orgasming hourly, you know, each one better than the last, you know. Does that God enjoy watching a primary producer who struggled to meet women, then be mentally and emotionally crushed under the weight of having 5 of them in his own house, you know, and then actually physically cry when the producers introduce a 6th, you know? A situation that an experienced gigolo couldn't even cope with, you know? And then there's like a God, the one who created the universe, understands it all the stars, all the galaxies and everything else. Does that God enjoy the character development of Shaniqua Jane on Love Island? You know? Marvelling at how she'd be simultaneously courted by Zane and Jackson. And that's Jackson spelled with a double X, too. Two tattooed gym junkies with incredibly white teeth, you know. Living proof that the human body can survive without a functioning fucking brain cell. You know? And does that God then go on to completely enjoy the incredible love story that Love Island can produce? I don't think that's the case. Like, if God does exist and they've seen everything, then they saw the very first episode of reality TV and thought, fuck this, I'm out. You cunts are clearly cooked. I can achieve a lot more having a wank at work than watching any of this. If there was a God, I'd wonder sort of what they think about homelessness. It's a big thing, but what will they do? Because I was in Adelaide last year and I was really confronted by the incredible amount of homelessness. And I passed my first homeless person on my first day there, and it started this internal debate. This debate over, do I or don't I give them money? Because if I give them money, then they'll just use that to buy the things that got them into homelessness in the first place. But if I don't give them money, what will they eat? Where will they sleep? How will they possibly drag themselves out of homelessness? And this was fueled by this sort of growing empathy, And then I watched a bloke walk past a homeless fellow, I think, about 10 steps, and he turned around and came back. Handed him $10, and they had a bit of a chat and a laugh, and it was a beautiful moment, like in amongst all the rest of this. And of course, all that did was just fire up my internal debate, And for the rest of the day, it just sort of grew and grew and grew, this empathy pushing it, till I got back to my motel room that evening, and I was fucked, pretty much. This internal debate had external ones, but the thoughts were going too fast for my mouth, so I was just babbling, My hand was pointing, my head was wobbling, and I was pacing backwards and forwards. I looked like an advanced Parkinson's sufferer, debating in a foreign language. And in one lucid moment, I grabbed myself and I said, right, I've got to do something about this. So I raced out of my motel and I went down and I found the nearest homeless person I could. And as I approached them, I took $50 out of my wallet and I handed it to them. But at that moment, all of this uncontrolled empathy just poured out of me, and I just debated straight at them for about a minute. It's just incoherent babble. And then after that time, I finally sort of settled down, and the homeless guy sort of reached up and he grabbed the $50, and he wasn't smiling. He had a half pissed off, half confused look on his face, and he said, "Mate, severe mental illness is my fucking thing, so just back the fuck off." And I did. I backed the fuck off. But from that moment on, I had to give every homeless person I saw $50 purely to keep my uncontrolled empathy in check. And there's a lot of homeless people in Adelaide. There are. On my second last day, I realised that I was only 2 homeless people away from being homeless myself. And that's when I realised that one of the main causes of homelessness is not alcoholism or mental illness or even like any of the other causes that you might consider. It's actually uncontrolled empathy and way too many ATMs. That's right. So look, we're almost done. Look, thank you very much for coming out tonight. It's been fantastic. I want to give a round of applause to Shalom Carr, the MC, who's been fantastic tonight. Yeah. I just got one more thing really. It's more of a clarification than anything, is I do actually cope with inspirational quotes. Like I love reading people's inspirational quote tattoos. They're pretty impressive. They're often in a cursive font and they normally say amazing things like believe, trust in yourself, and regret nothing, which is great, but ironically life's full of regrets. Like regret's a pretty important tool in teaching us not to make that mistake again. And funnily enough, at the top of most people's regret list is getting a really fucking shit tattoo. So, my name's Gary O'Sullivan. Thank you very much.
Gary O'Sullivan, everybody! He won't be single for much longer. And Darwin Fringe this season, which is coming up in July, Gary has 2 shows. One's called Dry, and the other